Hello there. You are watching a video about domain and range. As you go, you need to take very good notes. So you want to make sure you're taking down any definitions that are on the board or on the screen, as well as writing down all of the examples that are showing. At the end, there's going to be a nice little survey that follows. And so all you need to do is at the end of your notes, you're going to answer the questions that appear on the screen. So let's first define what domain and range are. So the domain represents all of the x values of a graph or a set of ordered pairs or something like that. So you have to ask yourself, how far left to how far right does this graph go? The range represents all of the y values of our graph or set of ordered pairs or our table, and we ask ourselves, how low does this go to how high? If you didn't get time to write down these two definitions, hit the pause button and then play when you're ready. So let's take a look at an example. We have the list of points, 8, -6, 4, 3, and 9, -9, 1. We could plot these points if we want to, but if I want to find the domain of this, I'm going to list all the x values. This is in alphabetical order, so we would list the 3 x values of those points. So in this specific example, it would be the points -9, 4, and 8. The range would be the points or the values of -6, 1, and 3. In order to accurately represent the domain and range, we use something called set notation. Set notation is a set of numbers listed, and what we use are a set of brackets. So for the domain of the following example here, with the numbers 2, 4, 7, and 8, what we would do is start off with a brace. And then we would list the numbers 2, 4, 7, and 8, and then we close it with a brace. And so you can see this looks different than the intervals we were working with our inequalities, which had the parenthesis or the bracket. So this uses a squiggle. The range would be done in a similar fashion. We would list off the numbers 3, 2, 1, and 5, and close it with a brace. Typically, we write these in numerical order, but it doesn't really matter. We can do the same thing from a table. So when I list the table, the first column is always our x, which also is known as our domain, and the second table is always our y's, which would be our range. If there's anything repeated, we don't need to write it twice. So in this example of this table, the domain would be the numbers -5, -2, 0, 2, and 6. The range would be the numbers 3. I'm not going to write the 3 twice, so I'm going to move on to 1, 0, and -4. As you can see, all you're doing when it's a set of points or a table like this is list it. So we use set notation with ordered pairs, tables, and discrete graphs. So what does it mean to be discrete graph? So there are two types of things that we're going to be looking at, discrete and continuous. Discrete is essentially a distinct or separate set of points, and it's all broken up. So as you can see, this example right here is a discrete graph. Why don't you draw an example in your notebook to see a discrete graph? The second type that we're going to be doing in class will be the continuous graphs. Continuous are ongoing or unbroken. So it's just going to continue with no broken set here. As you can see, we don't have a list of points that we're going to be graphing or writing down here. So their domain and range is going to look different. But our focus is only on discrete for right now, and in class we'll look at continuous. So let's look at an example of a graph now. So we've seen what it looks like as an ordered pair, we've seen as a table. So now looking at a graph, what we're going to do is identify all the x values of this graph. So since it's a list of points, because it's discrete, we use set notation. So we start with a brace. And then I'm going to look at one point at a time. So for this very first point right here, it has the x value of 1. For the second point here, it has the x value of 2. For this point, it's an x value of 3. And for this one is an x value of 4. This has an x value of 5. And this one here has an x value of 6. So I was working left to right. So now my range, again, we're listing off some points. I'm going to start low to high. The lowest point here has a y value of -1. The next point up has a y value of 0. This point here has a y value of 1, followed by 2, then 3, And then this one up here skips all the way up to 6. So as you can see, I'm just listing out the x's and the y's. So why don't you try this one here? Go ahead and hit the pause button and write down what you think the domain and range are. Let's see how you did. For the domain, it was 1, 2, and 3. And the range, even though we have 2 points we have 3 points, there's only 2 values. These both share the value of 2, and this top one here is at 4. So overall, the domain represents your x values. The range is all your y values. Set notation is used with ordered pairs, tables, and discrete graphs. To use set notation, we use braces. At this time, I would like you to answer these 3 questions. So hit the pause button on your screen and answer these 3 questions right into your notebook, and I'll be checking them tomorrow.